for good after he picked a fight with her and kicked her out of his home. And she's suing him today for a truck engine and a loan. Defendant George Hearns says the first time he met Sue was when she showed up on his front porch with her suitcase, asking for a place to stay. George admits that he pushed Sue away because he'd been hurt in the past, but he does still have feelings for her. George denies owing Sue for anything.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Start with you.
Well, Your Honor, a year and a half ago, I met George when I needed a place to stay, and he, mutual friends of ours, hooked us up and had me come and stay over with him, and George very nicely opened up his home and gave me a place to stay. And during that time, when I was staying with him, we started dating off and on.
How long after you moved in?
Well, the first night I refused to sleep with him because I just don't do that. So.
You tried the first one?
But he stayed up. We cracked jokes all night long. He laughed.
But he tried to sleep with you the first one?
No, actually, he was a gentleman. I just said, if you think I'm going to sleep with you because you're letting me stay here, you're wrong. So.
Okay.
But then next day, of course, I had to sleep with him. So.
All right.
So we started seeing each other.
Clearly, there was no real attachment after one day. That was just fun. Go ahead.
Well, we started seeing each other off and on. We both have trust issues from previous relationships, so we're a little bit scared.
How long did you all date?
About a year and a half.
Okay. Things were off and on?
Off and on, mostly on.
All right.
Everything was great. When it gets great, it's really great. But because it gets really great, he then sabotages the relationship because he gets so great. And when you're having a conversation with someone and they'll say answer the question, and you go to answer it, and then they say shut up, I'm talking to you, where you can't win. You're in a no-win situation. Often. Yeah.
You're a lawyer?
No, you're not.
Well, if that's what you do, you should be. Go ahead.
So he just sabotages it to make it end. We end up getting in an argument and split up.
All right.
And we had split up. I'd left, went away for 2 months, and couldn't live without him. So I gave him a call in July and asked him to fly to Vegas. If I paid for the flight, if he'd fly to Vegas and see me and fulfill a fantasy.
You said what to him?
I said if he would fly to Vegas, I'd pay for him to come out and see me and fulfill my fantasy. I had a fantasy I wanted fulfilled. So.
Ask about that fantasy?
No.
So he did.
She's a little too risque for me. I don't know what that fantasy might be.
Anyway, he fulfilled the fantasy very nicely, thank you. And everything was wonderful. We got back together, and it's going great.
Let me get a little background for you. All right. Go ahead, sir.
Your Honor, my mom raised me on one simple fact that I'd never be known for my brains, just my big mouth. And I try and prove that every day. And she's right about a lot of this, that it's all about insecurities. I put up walls to not let her in, and every time I felt her getting close.
You didn't put up a wall when you
like
moved her in. Let's go back there. When you moved her into your home, you only known her one day?
I didn't know her for anything. When my partners dropped me off at her house, at my house, she was basically there with her suitcase, and it was like, what do I do with this situation?
You had met her before?
No, this was the first time.
She showed up at your door with her suitcase.
Yeah. I've been down and out before. I went on my luck before, and luckily I had a place for her to stay, and I opened my home.
Was it a woman's house that allowed you to come in and have sex with her the first night or two?
Well, ever since I met her, I told her that if I could have wrote it up, as a dream, that she's the woman that I could have.
Showing up on your steps with a suitcase.
Yeah, and we got along great until she came into some money from a prior divorce.
So how did the relationship go, in your opinion?
Like she said, we got along great. We got along really good. I was, some ups and downs, but I was just basically, anytime I felt her getting closer, I felt vulnerable, I'd kind of push her away because, I had a prior relationship before. It didn't work out. I had my hand on the Bible, and neither one of us was dead, but I found myself getting divorced. And one thing I learned at that point is it takes two to start a relationship, but it only takes one to end it. And
she ended this one?
No, this is my prior. This is my prior.
Yeah, well, let's talk about
I
this
always
one.
wanted to. I felt like I was always wanted to be in control, and that's why I always pushed her away, because I wanted to be the one that was making.
So you ended this one?
Yes, Your Honor. Every time I felt her getting close, I was pushing her away because I didn't want to leave myself vulnerable.
All right.
But I mean, now I've tried to show her everything. I tell her all the time.
It's not just for women, it's
Are
for
you
men.
familiar with the phrase "I love you like a hog loves slop"?
No.
Have you ever heard anything like that?
I'm trying to make sense of it. I don't know if I've heard it.
I
love you like a hog loves
I mean, more than anything. You know, I mean, they're never happier than when they're in their environment. I mean, that's just what makes them happy.
All right.
And I've tried to explain to her that I love her more than that pig when he's flopping around in the dirt.
When was the last time you tried to explain that to her?
I don't know. It's probably when we had this falling out over this motor thing.
That's what I was going to ask about.
You know, I mean,
you told her that, and she probably said, "Well, where's my money?" And you could show me a sign. You could show me a sign of all this love you're professing.
More of Judge Mathis in a moment.
When I got home, he had a woman he was bringing to my house and looked like somebody had dug her up from the ground.
Okay, so you didn't like the woman. You didn't like the woman's look. Go ahead, sir. You give me some background. I got you. You made your point. You ended your friendship with your brother because you didn't like the way his woman looked.
And coming up,
We left Vegas, and it was about a 10-hour drive back home. Things had been wonderful, so you know the bad was going to come. So sure enough, on the way home, George decides that I just need to let him out of the car in the middle of the desert, nowhere, middle of the desert, nothing around.
Wow.
You know, some ups and downs, but I was just basically, anytime I felt her getting closer, I felt vulnerable, I'd kind of push her away.
plaintiff Sue Gerber is suing her ex-boyfriend, who admits that although he sabotaged their relationship, he still has feelings for Sue.
Let me hear from you about this money.
Okay.
Then I'll let him continue professing his love. In the meantime, you're suing him.
Yes.
For
yes.
$2,000. Tell me about this.
We left Vegas, and it was about a 10-hour drive back home. Things had been wonderful, so you know the bad was going to come. So sure enough, on the way home, George decides that I just need to let him out of the car in the middle of the desert, nowhere, middle of the desert, nothing around.
Wow.
And kept picking a fight with me and picking a fight with me. 4 times I pulled over and left him in the desert.
Wow.
And the last time I left him, I left for 45 minutes and I came back.
Okay.
My conscience would not let me leave him
Right.
there because he would die and then I'd be on my head. So, I didn't leave him. I picked him up every time and made him get in the car and took him home. And that showed him a lot, that I was there a lot. So we got back together.
I showed him what, exactly?
That I wouldn't leave him. And I should have in some ways.
Other guys you would have left to die. Go ahead.
But I didn't. That's the point. The point is I didn't. We got back home. We decided to do a business together, a landscaping business. And in order to do that, we needed to have a work truck. George had a truck that had a bad engine in it, and he was going to try to fix it. So I loaned him $900 to fix the truck so that we could have a truck and then do the business. We had a job that was going to pay us $2,000. As soon as we got the truck up and running, we could go take care of and do the job. So I would be getting my money back right away. So I loaned him the $900. And
Your Honor, this is never a loan. She keeps using the word loan, and it was never a loan. It was an investment in a business.
Sounds
Between
like
us.
it
That's
to
all
me
it
as
was.
well, but go ahead.
So I gave him the money. He tried to fix that engine. It could not be fixed. And so had to have a whole new engine. So I put up $1,100 and bought the engine to go into the truck. 2 weeks after that, George broke up with me, got in a fight one morning, kicked me out of the house, and didn't talk to me.
Never
So
discussed it?
I tried to contact him on 2 occasions. It ended very briefly in an argument, and so I just left.
So let me ask you, all the money that you gave or transferred to him, was it to be used for this business you all were in?
Yes, yes. We were investing in the business.
Right, so why does he have to pay
Because he broke up.
and you don't?
Because I did pay.
No, you won't if you get your money back. If I give you all your money back today, you will not have paid anything toward the business.
Correct.
So that's why I'm asking you, why shouldn't you have to pay toward a business that you all are both invested in? Like half and half.
I don't drive. I don't have a driver's license. I've already lost a vehicle trying to drive around with no driver's license and stuff, so I'm not going to do that again, especially now that I got landscaping equipment and stuff to lose also.
All right.
So her part of the business was she was going to be the driver and do the billing and stuff, and I was the one that's going to do all the work.
So both investments or cash laid out was for a vehicle?
Yes, his personal truck.
To be used for the business?
Correct.
So it would not be his personal truck anymore if it's used for the business. It would be the business truck.
Well, he would be using it for both because that was also his personal
Okay,
way
did
of
you
getting
all
around.
determine what he would have to pay in terms of him using it personally?
No, what we determined was just that I put the money up front into it, and as soon as we got that first job, that $2,000 would be coming back to me.
Did you ever get the first job?
No, he broke up with me,
So
Your
then
Honor.
you shouldn't get your $2,000 back, should you? Because you never got the first job.
The only reason we didn't get the job,
Whatever
though,
the reason,
was because he broke
you
up
just
with
told me the business investment and the conditions were that you get your money back out of the business when the business gets some work, and the business never got any work. You all closed the business down?
I didn't close it, Your Honor. He did when he broke up with me.
Okay, the business was closed down.
It was just a verbal agreement between me
You
and my
obtained
partner.
the money,
She bought a motor for my truck, is what she did.
and you still have it?
The motor in my truck, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you obtained the money.
But I don't have a business, though. I didn't.
Right,
never
but you obtained it for the purpose of the business. And
Yeah,
you
I was
never
doing-
got
exactly,
the
that's
business,
what it is.
right?
Yes.
So you're half. Thanks for telling me. All right, $1,000 is your half. Thank you. Good man.
Whatever's happened has happened. Can we just get past this and get on with our lives and get this business and obtain something for you through all this, please?
Yeah, you can.
Please? That's all I want. I love you more than a hog love slop. If that's not plain enough, I don't know what else to tell you, dude. I don't know how much clearer to say it.
Okay. I love you too.
Plaintiff Corey Jones says he didn't discover the defendant was his brother until he was 10 years old. When Corey was 15, he ended up in prison, but he turned his life around once he was released. Corey's suing his brother because after working for him, he refused to pay Corey for his services. Defendant Maurice White says he and Corey were extremely close and often partied together. But when Corey gets a girlfriend, he does everything he can to please her and often lets these women use him. Maurice is countersuing Corey for lost wages and slander.
Start with you.
I had a lot of surprises in my life over the years. One of them was my brother Maurice. I didn't find out that he was my brother until I was about 10 years old.
How'd you find out?
That's the thing. It was a guy that was terrorizing my neighborhood. And my mother one day told me that that guy, he shot your father years ago. And so I went up to the guy because, you know, I was a troubled child. I went up to the guy and I asked him, why you shoot my father, you know? And he didn't respond why he shot my father. His next question was, have you met your other three brothers, you know? And I told him no, and he was like, would you like to meet him? And so again, I did a foolish thing. I jumped in the car with him, and he took me and he introduced me to Maurice and the other two brothers and his mother, who, you know, treated me like I was our own kid. And after meeting Maurice, then we kind of like got distant because of the fact that I had another surprise in my life. When I was 15, like I say, I was in the streets at that age. I come from a very, very dangerous neighborhood in Mobile, Alabama. So after losing contact with Maurice, and that's the reason, because I was convicted and sentenced to prison at the age of 15, tried as an adult, because I was walking with four other guys, and they decided to rob somebody. And quite naturally, I'm there, so I'm guilty, you know. And after leaving prison, I went to school in prison because they wouldn't let me play basketball or anything until I got my GED and everything.
The case continues after this.
That 1,500 had to do with the...
I know, but lawyers, you need lawyers. So that's what she was giving me background on the fact that you have a habit of needing lawyers.
No.
That's why it has something to do with it.
you do.
I'll be the judge of whether it has something to do with it.
Yes.
And still to come.
When he ain't got no money, she ain't there. He do everything to please them, but when he don't have anything, he comes around.
How you know all this? He tells you?
He come back and tell me.
I don't tell you nothing, Your Honor. Right.
conned into a loan?
She refused it first time.
That what happened?
Yes.
Oh, that's the best. You don't get any better than that. You good.
Next, Judge Mathis.
After losing contact with Maurice, and that's the reason because I was convicted and sentenced to prison at the age of 15, tried as an adult.
Defendant Maurice White is countersuing his brother, who admits that he went to prison when he was 15 years old.
Go ahead.
So when I got out, I moved to New York. I immediately moved to New York and started doing loss prevention work. Where I was
and the
very
firm
successful.
hired you despite your record, or they didn't
I had
find
a friend, and I told him, my situation, and he was like, "Hey, man, just fill out the application," and they hired me, Okay. So, and I was, I wanted a job, and so,
Just wanted to know because a lot of prisoners who are being released now. It's very difficult, so I just wanted to know.
But
how
once you try,
it,
it's going to come. It's going to fall in place.
Not for everybody.
Well, for me, it did. And
right.
it didn't stop because after I became the successful loss prevention officer, I wanted to always go back to Alabama and live, like a decent human being. So I did go back to Alabama, and I landed a job as a floor tech. And they had a sign that said, if you're full-time employee at the hospital, they would send you to school, and they would pay for you to go to school and pay for you, give you a weekly check. So I got into that, and I became a medical assistant, went all the way up to being a phlebotomist.
And they didn't know about your background?
They did know.
Yeah.
They did
and
know,
so that's another example. The majority of those ex-offenders can find employment and opportunity, but some can't. Depending on the crime, may be more difficult for some than others. That's the only point I was making. I don't want us to mislead viewers who are incarcerated. I don't want the guys that committed triple murder and get out at some point to think, oh, Judge said I'm gonna go and get a job, and it ain't gonna be a problem. You can be calling me. Now, my judge, where that job? Why don't you hire me? You said I was gonna get one. I don't know many people gonna hire that person. So, but thank God, majority of them do. And so you built your career, and you all continued your relationship?
Yeah, we continued after I came back.
And did you all ever end that relationship? And if so, why? Because you're suing him today. Is it over this?
Fell off a little bit because he had made an attempt to live with me, and he had called me and told me that he needed the key. And I was, I was kind of stuck in the emergency room drawing blood at the time. So he came by the emergency room and got the key. And when I got home, he had a woman he was bringing into my house and looked like somebody had dug her up from the ground.
Okay, so you didn't like the woman. You didn't like the woman's look. Go ahead, sir. You give me some background. I got you. You made your point. You ended your friendship with your brother because you didn't like the way his woman looked. Go ahead, sir.
We continued our relationship when Corey got back to Mobile. I think he was about 30-something years old. When we continued, I'd do anything for my brother. I love my brother. But
why you bring this ugly woman home to his house? You knew he didn't like ugly women. You ever seen him with an ugly woman?
First of all, the woman wasn't
ugly. Well, then you knew.
The woman wasn't ugly, Your Honor.
She wasn't ugly.
It wasn't his cup of tea, but was my cup of tea.
This is so silly. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, but when we kept the relationship going on, we partied together, we hung out together. But my brother, he's when he get a woman, he gets very, what do I want to call it? He's very henpecked.
Okay.
So when I did attempt,
give me some describe that. Give me some incidents or examples.
When he owned, like when he got money, she's there. When he ain't got no money, she ain't there. He do everything to please them, but when he don't have anything, he comes around.
How you know all this? He tells you?
He come back and tell me.
I don't tell him nothing, Your Honor.
What you suing him for today?
Maurice asked me, did I want to work in his restaurant? I told him, sure, because I'm on disability because I was injured by an aggressive sight patient while performing my duties. And he told my shoulder where it had to be screws in and everything. So I said, yeah, I work, So I worked for Maurice the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th. On the 9th, which was a Saturday.
What was the agreement?
The agreement was he would take care of me. So I was under the impression that, okay, he's at least going to pay me minimum wages, because, I am his brother, so.
And that is the law.
That is the law. And that night, we was getting off, and he came to me and he said, oh, bro, I'm not going to be able to pay you minimum wages. Then he went to right into my 35. I said, well, you on crack or something? Are you crazy? So he went up to 45. I said, you're doing better, but you in rehab or something, 'cause, you know. So I said, look here, man, you know, I ain't gonna be able to do this here, because I'm coming from a long way, driving my truck to, you know, work for $35, $45 a day.
So there was an intention for you to continue?
It was, but then I told him I wasn't gonna be able to do it.
Okay.
I told him I wasn't gonna be able to do it.
And so you asked for minimum wage? That's all you're asking for, obviously?
Yes, sir, that's all I was asking.
And that's for how many hours per day out of
8
those
hours.
3 days?
It was 8 hours per day.
All right.
And so that's like $174.
Yeah, that's reasonable. You didn't come in here lying saying he promised me a portion of the business?
No.
All right.
Judge Mathis will be right back.
I'm asking, are you successful?
Yes, sir. In one day, I can show you in one day work $1,000 or $1,200 a day. And that's just on a small
business. Why you
pay me? Because this kind of relationship when Corey got back to Mobile, I think he was about 30-something years old. When we continued, I'd do anything for my brother. I love my brother.
Defendant Maurice White is countersuing his brother, who admits that he went to prison when he was 15 years old.
Sir?
Yes, sir. On that day, Corey worked for me on them 3 days. I came to Corey on payday. That was that Saturday. I told Corey from the jump, I said, Corey, well, and then I didn't ask him to work for me. He came to me. He told me, he said, bro, you know my money comes once a month. I be needing extra. I said, well, I tell you what, because I put him out for like 2 months before, because I knew I was just starting a business and I wasn't able to pay like a regular job right then. So when he came to me the last time, I said, all right, then I tell you what, I'll let you work with me. All the thing I had Corey doing was hot dogs.
Yeah, but what was the agreement on paying?
The agreement was, like he say, that I'll take care of him. But then when I told him I could pay you $35 a day.
When did you tell him that?
I told him that the first day. He told me $35.
No, you just told me you said, I'll take care
of him, but I did say $35. But then he told me.
No, those are two different things.
Okay, well.
Now you're not making sense.
Okay.
And so far he has.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I told Corey on the day we got paid, that was that Saturday. I paid him for 2 days.
Just 3 days later?
No, he worked 3 days, but he came in on the middle of the week. We get paid on Saturday.
After working the second day?
After the 2 days, you get paid. So when I gave him the money.
How much?
I gave him $90.
Okay.
I got witness statements.
Okay, and what?
Showing that I paid him, and I got the witness statements showing that I paid all of them.
They saw you?
Time. Yes, sir.
How many?
2 of them.
They were standing around?
Yes, sir.
What are you doing that for?
Oh, I was giving my witness.
He worked for me.
Yes, sir. But I gave him the $90, and he called me. He didn't talk to me that night. He called me the next day. He said, "Bruh, I can't do that." I said, "What you mean?" He said, "I can't do $90. I drive like he said I drive too far for $90." I said, "I understand, but I was frank with you the first time. I'm not able to give you that right there."
He never mentioned minimum wage?
No, he never mentioned. He said, well, he did say, that ain't even minimum wage there. I said, okay, then, bro, that was all I could pay. I told you I can give you $45 a day. That was $90.
All right. And you say you never agreed to $45.
No,
Did
sir.
he mention $45?
He mentioned he went from 35 to 45.
Before you began working?
No. That was on the 9th.
After you had worked 3 days?
After I had worked 3 days.
Got it. All right. Let's see your witness statements. People who were standing around. Did you pay them?
Yes, sir.
The people who were standing around?
Yes, sir.
Well, they were huddled around you.
Yes, sir. I paid all of them. I paid all of them together because I just started a fry, Your Honor, that everybody in the city of Mobile is eating right now. It's called Stupid Fries.
Okay.
And it's a brand that I made up, and I got it patented. And here goes a couple of pictures.
Let's see it.
Yes, sir. It's stupid fries, stupid hot dogs, everything's stupid.
All right. I don't have any comments, sir. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm glad to see you're in business for yourself.
Yes, sir.
It looks good, in fact. And you say it really looks good. And you say you've been in business since July, or how long?
Yes, sir. I've been in business a year now.
Okay, and how's it going?
Right now, what comes to this point right here, when I was renting from this guy, and he told me he didn't want to rent to me no more. So me and my wife went and found another building, and that's when I told Corey. I said, Corey, I'm finna get this other building together. As soon as I get it right, I got you. I got your money.
Where you at now?
I'm down the street from where I was.
I know, but your success.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm asking, are you successful?
Yes, sir. In one day, I can show you. In one day, work $1,000 or $1,200 a day, and that's just on a small business.
Why you pay me?
Because this came. The reason why I wasn't able to pay him right then is because this just came about.
What?
This restaurant just came about here.
How long ago?
I've been open 4 weeks now.
All right, and you've made $1,200 a day.
$1,200 a day.
And you don't think you have enough to pay him what, by the way?
Now, I owe him $45.
Okay, you don't think you've made enough to pay him?
I tried to, but he's did this.
We'll be right back. And later on Judge Mathis.
I can't wait to get on a fixed income, really.
Yeah,
I'm not being funny, but I can't wait, so I'm ready to say that.
Yeah,
They're going to be asking me like they are now. Can I borrow such and such, or can I get? I'm on a fixed income.
Conned into a loan?
She refused it first time.
That what happened?
Yes.
Oh, that's the best. You don't get any better than that. Are you good?
Next Judge Mathis.
Defendant Maurice White is countersuing his brother, who admits that he went to prison when he was 15 years old.
$1,500 is your counterclaim. How so? How does he owe you $1,500?
Corey went around telling my dad, telling everybody in the city, talking about some, well, first off, $700 of it was because that's what I make a day, or roughly a day, and I had to close down the restaurant to come here for 2 days.
You make $700 a day.
I'm just roughly saying altogether.
Yeah, you take home about $700, your profit or whatever.
Profit, yeah.
$700. And you've come here for $174. Instead of paying him, you admit to owing him something.
Yes, sir.
So instead of paying him, you'd rather fly across country and lose $700 in business. All right. What'd you say the name of the business? I'm looking at
Stupid fries, stupid hot dogs, everything stupid.
I'm just looking at the food. I don't see. So, once again, sir, how did he slander you?
He slandered me by going and telling my dad and them, oh, he don't have a restaurant, he just lying.
You have evidence of that?
Yes, sir. Oh, my dad and them, no, sir, I don't have a restaurant. He just came up to the restaurant and said, Maurice, he just told me you didn't have a restaurant.
You have any evidence, or did you lie on him intentionally to make him look bad?
No, sir.
All right. And based on what I've heard, I believe it is reasonable that he asks for minimum wage, and the law requires minimum wage. And the lost wages, I'm going to deny because you belong here, because he has a reasonable belief that you owe him. And now that we know he's won, you certainly do not get lost wages. So I will grant your judgment and deny yours. Have a good day, gentlemen.
Thank you all.
He's a liar. You know what I'm saying? He's a liar. I paid you. And as a brother, I would never say nothing else to you. You brought me down here and lied, man.
You brought yourself down here. All you had to do is pay.
Lied, man. I gave you.
You hurt because what the judge told you.
I gave you your money, man.
You didn't give me nothing. Don't eat the stupid fries.
Hate them.
Plaintiff Colette Henthorne and her daughter Kian say when Kian started dating the defendant, Colette thought he was a nice guy. However, Colette claims the defendant became controlling and abusive, and she's suing him today for an unpaid loan. Defendant Scott Peck says while dating Kian, he was not controlling, and she was allowed to do whatever she wanted. Scott insists the loan Colette is suing for was an agreement between mother and daughter, and he has nothing to do with it.
Start with you.
When I first met Scott, I thought he was a really nice guy, gentleman, polite, and everything else when he first started dating my daughter. When? November and December 2015. Like I said, he was really nice, polite, kind of shy. And then I found out later that he's not that type of person. He's controlling, abusive, and he held my daughter against the wheel. They went out for drinking for her birthday, which is August 27th. They went out to celebrate it. They came home, got into an argument because she is supposed to be looking at another guy. And I got a call from her. She was hysterical, crying, sobbing, and everything else. I could barely understand her. So I drove to where she was, the neighbors. I finally got there and got in. And she's sitting on the couch, and she's just all apart. She's crying, she's shaking, and everything else. And it took me a little bit to find out what was going on. It seemed they got into an argument, a really bad one, and he wouldn't let her leave the house. He actually set on her and everything else. The police were called. Charges were filed against him for false imprisonment. And that's when I really found out
what happened with the case.
Huh?
What happened with the charges?
They were dropped because they chose not to pursue it. Not enough evidence. It's his word against hers. No witnesses or anything.
Don't go away. More of Judge Mathis is coming. Plaintiff Colette Henthorne and her daughter Kian say while Kian dated the defendant, he was controlling and abusive.
Sir, you want to give me some background?
Pretty much, you know, a lot of that, you know, wasn't true. I guess, you know, I don't even know how this was even involved with the $1,500, why we even bring up a relationship.
What was the money for?
It was for custody, for him to get rights to see his son. Yes, for a lawyer. I felt really bad.
That's what this is for?
Yeah.
Weren't you charged with something?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, but she said they dropped.
Well, I was charged with that. Oh, you're talking about that?
Don't say no, say yes.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Yes.
So you got a habit of needing lawyers. That's why we're talking about this.
That $1,500 had to do with the.
I know, but lawyers, you need lawyers. No. So that's what she was giving me background on the fact that you have a habit of needing lawyers.
No.
That's why it has something to do with it.
You do.
I'll be the judge of whether it has something to do with it.
Okay.
Yes.
So you give me the background. That's what I want to hear.
Okay. Yeah, we started dating the end of December. You know, I was never controlling. I always let her do whatever she wanted and stuff like that.
You checked her phone all the time.
Quiet, ma'am. I'm going to let her speak in a minute.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And then, probably
the end of July. None of that?
Yeah, no. I paid for all of her bills, everything. She didn't have a job, nothing. Sure, she asked if she could go out. I'd be like, no, we don't have money, because I supported my 2 kids and then her 2 kids and her. So, you know, she never had child support until
she didn't work.
Nope, and she didn't work at all. And then,
so you pretty much supported a household of 5,
yes.
2 of which were her children.
Right. And then we went out on one Friday night. Yes, we got drunk. We both did. She got, screaming at me, yelling and stuff like that. That's why, you know.
All right. That's how you all got into your confrontation.
Yes.
Okay.
And I never sat on her. You know, the only thing I do admit, I didn't want her to leave because she was drunk, and I didn't want her because she was wanting to drive. You know, and that was the only thing.
Okay. Got that. Ma'am, state your name.
Kian.
What do you want to tell me before we get to the loan your mother's suing for? What do you want to tell me?
Well, about the whole relationship, he was controlling. He was. And the night that we got into the disagreement, he did actually hold me down physically on the steps. He actually did hurt me. And, yeah, I kicked him and everything else to get him off of me. But with the fact that he paid for me and my kids, we had agreed that it was okay that I didn't work, because he had 2 kids and I had 2 kids. Babysitting cost a lot of money.
Okay. So you took care of all 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, you ran his kids around to schools and stuff like that, like a normal mother would do.
Yeah, understandable. All right, tell me about the loan.
Okay, I loaned him the $1,500, like I said, to get a lawyer. Okay. So I loaned him the $1,500 to get an attorney.
When again?
When? That was in May.
Of 16, obviously.
Yes.
And when was he to repay you?
We didn't actually set a date, but I did specifically tell them and him that I needed the money back by winter, because I am on disability. I am on a set income. And with winter coming, my heating and cost in Nebraska is going to go up. Right. So I need that back.
That's a pretty big sacrifice for you.
Yes, it is.
$1,500 on a fixed income.
It was.
Yeah.
And so I don't mind it.
I can't wait to get on a fixed income, really.
Yeah,
I'm not being funny, but I can't wait. So I'm ready to say that.
Yeah,
they're going to be asking me like they are now. They're going to continue asking. I cannot wait. I'm on a fixed income. Can't do it. Can I borrow such and such, or can I get? I'm on a fixed income.
Yeah.
So you're very generous to loan someone your money.
Yes.
And you're on a fixed income.
Yes.
Sir, what do you want to tell me about this loan? And did you agree to repay it by winter? If not, why?
She never once talked to me about the money or anything. She was always talking to Kian and everything, and the fact that the money never even came into my hands. It went into Kian, and Kian gave it to me. So
you never discussed the loan with her?
No, I never once discussed the loan with her or anything.
Ma'am?
Yes, it was the discussion between all three of us, because my daughter was there, and yes, I did talk to her, but he was on the other side, right beside her. So yes, he did. He was involved whenever he.
And it was for his benefit.
Yes.
And he was present.
Yes.
Is that true? He was present?
Like, he knew about the conversations, yes.
No, not knew about. Was he present? Your mother said he was present.
For some of the conversations in regards to the loan, yes. Every single one, I can't.
Every single one what?
Every single conversation we had about the loan, I can't.
No, the initial.
Yes.
Judge Mathis continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Mathis, if Colette Henthorne and her daughter Kian say while Kian dated the defendant, he was controlling and abusive.
You all were both present when the initial loan was made?
Whenever we first asked, yes.
Okay. All right. Give me the scenario, because he says he wasn't. Were you present?
No, I wasn't.
Never heard
the fact that I never asked Kian to go to her mom.
No, I know, but were you sitting there?
No, I was never present.
All right, and that's why I want to hear the scenario, since you were sitting there.
We were actually at my mom's, which we go quite often, and we were sitting there, and I had asked
Sitting there doing what?
Watching TV.
On the couch?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much what we normally do.
What were you watching? I'm just kidding. I know you wouldn't remember that. Go ahead.
The subject was brought up about borrowing
By
money.
whom?
By me.
Mm-hmm.
About borrowing money because we had already asked a bunch of other people and they all told us they couldn't help us. We had even went to banks and they couldn't help us.
Did the word "we" come out of your mouth?
Yes, because I used "we" quite often when I discussed something with us because he did pay for my
and
thing.
you all have a household.
Yes.
How long have you all been in the same household?
Me and him,
Uh-huh.
we lived together for about 7 months.
All right. Sir, they say you were sitting there. She used the term "we," and when you didn't correct her, and she received the money that went towards your benefit. Now, you're saying you never spoke with the mother? You were never sitting there when it came about?
No, because when Kian talked to me about it, we were in our own house, and that Kian would call her mom on the phone and discuss it to her, and then she would tell me what they talked about, and that...
When you all first talked about it, what did you talk about? What, you and your girlfriend or ex-girlfriend? You say when she mentioned it, you all talked about it before asking for the money, right?
Right.
So what'd you say?
I told her that with me supporting her every month and paying all the bills and everything else, that I wouldn't have hardly any money to give her every month to pay it back, even around a certain amount of time. And then,
so why'd you accept it then if you knew you weren't going to be able to pay her back?
Because Kian told me, because at the time around April...
Kian didn't even work.
Right, that's what I was getting to. Kian said around April that she was going to get a job because we were struggling in bills, and that she would help out them.
When did you borrow the money?
I think it was around May.
Right.
Yeah.
So by May, when you borrowed it, she hadn't gotten this April job. No. So how could you rely on her to repay it? Any evidence so far they're
just
winning,
text
sir? I
messages
hope you have some evidence.
We did go to court. It shows that, because I babysit the kids. He went to court.
Tomorrow, 11:45 is when we have court in May. Need help with the kids. I had dentist appointment today. My face is swollen on the left side. It's infected. What does this have to do with anything? Have antibiotics and codeine, Tylenol 3. That still doesn't conclude that he agreed to repay.
No, he does. No, that's,
all right.
There's nothing.
All right, but based on the testimony I'm hearing, I don't have concrete evidence, but so I'm going to go on the testimony that I'm hearing, sir, and their testimony is more reliable, I find, and credible than yours is. So, judgment for the plaintiff, $1,500. Have a good day.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Nothing. We don't talk or anything.
After she finally got tired of him texting and everything else, after they broke up, she blocked his numbers, so there's no contact.
Yeah, and I blocked her likewise on other social media too, so we don't have any conversation.
He told her on the phone that I was the last one on the list to be paid. So that's why I went to sue him.